Welcome to our weekly webinar with our very special guest, Romy Nordlinger, who is,
Thanks
yay,
for having
yay.
me. Thank you so much. Hello, hello.
Hello, hello. Nice to see you again, Romy. I
Very,
think we first
very.
met, years
Mm.
ago. And I
We're
cast
not
you in
there.
a play I was directing, right? That we did for the Fringe Festival and rehearsed at the Armory called
Oh,
and a Wake Up. I think that was the
yes.
first time
It
we
was
met.
it was a yes with Megan. Oh, I know you.
Kyle.
Yes, a great. You're a terrific director. That was a terrific
Oh, thank
play.
you. Thank
Um,
you.
and wasn't the Armory wild?
Yeah, yeah. You notice I mentioned that we rehearsed at the Armory, like where we performed. It was great. Everybody loved it. It was a fantastic success. But the fun I thought we had really was rehearsing at the Armory on 68th Street.
Oh, the
That
That
Park
was
Avenue?
amazing.
have you
Oh,
been
Yeah, we
there?
got it. The,
It's
the publicity guy for the production worked there at the time, was publicity guy for them, so we got to rehearse up there for the last, I guess it was week and a half or so, right?
Yeah,
It was
yeah, it felt like longer. I think it's haunted.
yeah.
It was so cool.
oh,
It's such a cool place, such a neat building. They're doing theater there now. I mean,
Yeah,
actually seen some plays there. So in that gymnasium, it's massive. Yes.
yeah,
yes.
yeah.
I saw the Macbeth there where they put the entire forest inside the armory. It was
Oh, you
amazing.
saw that, and like
Ooh.
kept hearing about that, the dirt, and they're running
Yes,
through the dirt and the yeah.
yes. And I was in like the back row. And so you just felt like you were in the forest and all these people were like so far away from you, in the battle. It was incredible. It was
Spectacular. And it's one of the theaters that's coming back now because you can be socially distanced. And I believe they're doing, well, I've been reading about some cool things they're starting to do there. So, yay for theater beginning.
Yeah,
yeah.
Um, you know,
yeah, for theater
yeah.
coming back. And speaking of, I wanted to talk to you about latest things you've been doing. I know you shot an episode of Manifest, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
And sorry, go ahead, talk about
Well, I'm
Manifest
waiting to
first. Go
see when
ahead,
it
talk
comes
about that.
out. So if you find out, let me know. I think it's May. I think it's May.
And then you're working with, I guess, one of your creative homes, New Eurekan, right? I've seen that
Yeah.
you've been with them a few times and you're doing something online with them now. Why don't you
Yes,
tell us about
thanks
that?
for asking. They're New Eurekan Poets Cafe. Um, Actually, I got to know them throughout my time uh, in person, but since this time where we've all been working on Zoom, I've hosted, it's 3 evenings of theater. Um,
Mhm.
Two based on, well, all in all of them I wrote something. One was this an evening called New York Seeing, and it was playwrights from all over the country. Neil LaBute was the headliner, and it was interesting because we were all in real time. It was very festive. Some of the playwrights I haven't seen, some of the screenwriters I haven't seen in a long time, but all of us getting together to celebrate New York, because
Yeah.
New Eurekan is incredibly New York centric, obviously, and is a melting pot. It's a wonderful theater. Another piece we did was just women. Actually, the other two were women's. One of them was sort of based on women's issues, and the last one we did was for women's history. All of these were themes that I helmed with Kathy McGowan, who's a terrific director, and yeah.
That's
So
fantastic.
neweurekan.org, they're fantastic, and they always look for material. So if anybody's interested, www. New Eurekan is NUYORICAN. They're the heart of theater, and they're very welcoming and open to all sorts of material and all sorts of sizes and every shape and ethnicity.
I
Cool.
love it.
Oh,
Yeah.
excellent. I want to hone in on something you said there because in my other life, I am in HR recruiting in corporate America, right?
Mm.
So we do things like we study the Mercer puts out the reports for who's getting jobs and who's losing jobs and so on and so forth. It's like the United States jobs report. And one of the things they noted over COVID that we at the company I work for talked a lot about was the disproportionate effect of COVID on women, because it's the double whammy. It's not just the losing the job, it's the take over all the house stuff, even if you have a job. And the findings were really scary for sort of overall women's health in 2020, because so much more is piled on while money, if that's the job, right, is taken away. And I wonder if, because we were talking about it in International Women's Month, I wonder if any of the plays that you were working on there with New Eurekan or the people were talking about that, sort of how women have dealt with COVID.
No, Bruce, I'm glad you brought that up, though. I was just reading about that, and I identified very strongly with two aspects. I don't have kids, and yes, some of the women. One of the evenings was about different women throughout history, and were they alive, like Shirley Chisholm, or my mother, who was a famous feminist. They would be I'm sure they would be addressing it, because all of it has to do with, equal pay, equal time, and it's become even harder for women, as you just brought up, Bruce. But another thing that I'm finding as that I just read about in the New York Times, actually, is that because women, we're always judging ourselves, and we try not to. I do a lot, and then I work very hard on not. But we have to see ourselves a lot on Zoom. And this was a whole study on how, it just can begin to become a pervasive sort of thing that
reinforce negative stuff.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I'm looking at this. Also, the speaking thing is very difficult. Obviously, one person talks and another one can't. And already in the workplace, there have been so many studies about, you know. This.
No, I'm smiling and trying not to make a joke about mansplaining as I mansplain. Right.
Basically, right? And not every man does it, and not every woman has this issues. These are just generalisms. So it's cool you brought that up. In this Zoom world, it is tricky, isn't it?
Absolutely. What you just dropped in there? My mother, a famous feminist. Who's your mother?
My mother is no longer alive, but she's very dear to me. Her name is Zelda Nordlinger, and I'm married, but I kept my last name, which is actually my father's name. She was she knew people like Shirley Chisholm, and she was one of the founders of the women's movement in Richmond, Virginia, which I don't really get cast in Southern roles, but I actually am from a place where my mother liked to say they're still fighting, the Civil War. And when they took down those monuments this year, how wonderful that there were these monuments, Monument Avenue, to people like Stonewall Jackson. These are heroes. They're not of the Confederate War. And not to get too political here, but that was a big deal.
Get political.
It was awe-inspiring. There's some, I don't live there any longer, but seeing those pictures, it's just awe-inspiring. But she loved to shake Richmond, Virginia up, and she did. And so she was really cool to write about, and it inspired me to think about. It opened a door to perhaps writing more about her. I think the piece went over well. It's for everybody, but I felt like I've been wanting to write about her, but I wasn't ready yet, because as we all know, dealing with how different stages of loss, I wasn't ready. And I thought, I think I am. I think I'm ready. It was really.
Is it a solo show, Romy? Something you would do on your own?
I think so. And solo shows are. I know that was one thing I was looking at your wonderful interviews, and talking about how actors can allot their time in different things that we can do for ourselves. But I think to empower ourselves, doing solo shows helped me. And now I've written full-length plays, and I'm look, working on a million things at once, and it's some are in various phases of development, and some are nowhere. But solo shows are great because you can control them, and now is a good time for solo shows, particularly because the cast size is kind of handy.
That's kind of easy to get.
Wow, yeah.
Right. Right. So I don't know. When I start talking, I can talk, but I don't know where we started that from. But yeah, I think it would be a solo show.
That's beautiful that you're writing about your mother. I tried to write a solo show about me and my parents, and it was too much for me emotionally to do, so it never got done.
It's yeah, gotcha. And you may return to that,
Yeah, it could happen.
Every bit of that writing, and I may not return to this in a long time, but once you've started something, it's alive. Keep it in a file, and you open that file and go boom, right back to where you were.
This is why I wanted to talk to you. Is Caroline and I were just talking about sort of the overall brand and what we're doing around here, and still finding our way. But what I love is talking to people who do lots of different things, however artistically. And you, with being an actor and a writer, and let's come to the third chapter, doing audiobooks or more studio work. Can we talk about that a little bit?
The audiobooks?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I'm very grateful for it's a very good job for actors, because well, the schedule. If you're working in your own studio, you make your own hours, and of course it's very important for actors to be flexible. Of course, pre-pandemic, there's also studios to go into, as we all know, and which is great too. I've recorded, I think, 300 books from my home studio or more.
Oh, wow.
When I start talking, yeah. But I guess audiobooks are very particular in that, people may say, and I get it, hey, I've got a great voice, so I should do audiobooks. And that isn't necessarily or at all the thing. It's that's why it's also suited very well to actors. It's playing characters. I also often feel like I'm, who used to play with, well, maybe you didn't play with Barbie dolls, Bruce, but maybe Caroline did, but where it's like, hello, how are you? Why are you?
Yeah.
Whoa. So you're
for sure
sort of, playing a lot. You can be playing an alien one moment, a man the next, and a woman. But also it's a long haul. It's a marathon rather than a sprint. So you have to be very dexterous verbally. It's not worth your time if you're not like a reader to begin with, because it would take you so long that those are, more hours that you're working, because you're, using up, it's the time is money.
Yeah.
So it's a number of things: breath control, stamina, reading, all of these things. And I would encourage everybody who's interested in trying to work on audiobooks to read aloud and just feel how comfortable. I mean, we're all as actors comfortable with acting, but like taking a book and just reading aloud and seeing how you feel, and then I'd encourage you to like go for it, because it's also very gratifying. I've never been as great at selling things. That's not my forte. And I think it's very important to find things where you go, oh, that works for me,
Yeah, absolutely.
And then emphasize the things that you can do, throw more energy into that, and the things that you can't, that make you feel like, oh, I'm trying to fit myself into something that doesn't quite work as well.
See, this is great stuff that I tell students. like there's a lot of ways to be fulfilled and to work, but don't do what they tell you you have to do. If you graduate college, I went to Carnegie Mellon, right? And the idea was graduate and get a TV series. Like that's what you're supposed to do,
Right.
and or work as a regional actor continuously, you know, everywhere. And when that doesn't happen for 98% of the people who graduate,
Or 99 point
yeah,
you know what I mean?
right?
Yeah.
You can feel like I'm a failure, this is over, why did I do this, right? But you don't realize that you can do other things, whatever it is. For me, it was soap operas and then commercials and stage here in New York and directing and writing and a
And
bunch
that's a
of other
renaissance.
things.
That's a lot of things.
Yeah, but it's also, you know, it only took me 25 years to realize what makes me happy. It would have been a lot easier if I could have just gone, you know, why don't I do what I like doing?
You know, it's interesting that it said it only took me 25 years because I feel similarly in and every day is different. Some days you know are harder than others, and some days, oh boy, I wish I was a stockbroker even amidst all of everything we're talking about. But most days, um, I'm very grateful to have followed that the path of following what my heart told me to do. But the 25 years thing is interesting because you know you have this picture of how it's going to look or how it's supposed to look, um, and when I was younger, gosh, I can't believe I'm saying these things. I used to kind of walk into a casting room and feel like they were there and I was here, and you know, oh, I might say the wrong thing, and I don't think I knew as much. I think they always say this, but now I get it. If you don't know who you are, you know, there's nothing really to bring. It's just being the person that you are. And that's okay. It took me a long time and I'm still figuring it out. And then maybe we never really do, but it
Mhm.
certainly helps you get cast to kind of realize, you know what, I actually, or becoming who you are. You know what I mean? Like, I used to always try to fit into a maybe I'm this or maybe I'm that, and then I was like,
Mhm.
no, I actually am kind of like that fast talking lady who is more like of the, you know, I'll get cast more in those roles. It's just who I am, you
Yeah, yeah.
know. I don't know. That kind of went all over the place. I
No,
was
that's great.
No.
And since we're talking about students who came out of college, let's get a question from the one who's closer to that than Romy and I. Anything you want to ask Romy, Caroline?
Yeah, I warned her that I'd kind of bring that up a little bit, but you kind of answered it. But I wanted to know what you would tell yourself fresh out of school and fresh out of your training. It seems like a lot of that, like, you know, be yourself, find out who you are. But is there
yeah.
anything else that you could tell yourself?
And within that, I would say that that's not, it's easier said than done, and that I think we all struggle with that. I mean, I'm saying this all like, oh, it's no, I think we all struggle. I'm speaking for everybody. Maybe I shouldn't be, but I think at different moments we all struggle with who am I, and but I think always coming back to uh, I was thinking of this quote today that came to me because of this interview, which is something that just really hit me, which is do what you want what you have, and be who you are. Um,
Mm.
so yeah, it may not necessarily be uh, that I'm, you know, Angelina Jolie, but do what you want, what you have, and be who you are. And uh, I think um, I would say to people just coming out of college, um, be proud, even if you have a pimple or something and you go to audition, be proud of it. Just let it shine. Just, you know, like let it go and trust. And trust that the path may not be straight. I'm going like this because it's definitely not straight, is it?
Yeah, right.
You know, you might be putting energy into something. Put good energy out. I think good energy comes back, and you never, they say those things and then they are true. So certain things that they say, like, always be nice to everybody. Well, you don't just do that because, you want to get cast, because uh, everything is really about people and us and the kindness that we share and human interaction. And I think that's why we really all came to theater, is the human condition. And so all we can do is put out that good energy. Once in a while it really comes back, and you'll be like, oh, like Bruce, like, oh, we're still, we there's an energy that we knew, oh, that person has a great energy. And there's this tapestry that weaves throughout somehow. And then I find it interesting, because I'm like, you'll look at an email, like, who will it be today that, or sometimes it's just, hey, would you like to buy insurance emails? But you never know. There's just these things that are out of this tapestry that we weave. And to try not to try not to compare. Oh God, that's hard on a daily basis, isn't it? And I think maybe that's going back to the Zoom thing even more, because, like, we're looking at ourselves. How do we not compare ourselves? And or that person is doing that, and we all know also that social media is curated. These are curated lives. I'm not going to put up. Well, some people do. Some people go, I'm really upset, and I never do that, but that's okay. But usually it's like, usually it's stuff that we want to be seen. So we have to remember that everybody's doing that for the most part. So it gets me nowhere when I compare despair, and I do it. All these things that we're talking about, I do it, but it just gets me nowhere. And it doesn't feel good, and it doesn't matter, because everybody has their own journey, and it's all going to look different. As Bruce pointed out, we could have all summed it up with what Bruce said. So
no, I think you've summed us up well. And let's go out on that note. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us, Romy.
Glad. Thank you.
Are there any updates about your solo show? Are you doing that again?
Yes, thank you for asking about it.
Yep.
It's a solo show. It's a multimedia solo show. So it's me, but it also takes some wonderful artists. Nick T. Moore is the composer. We have a new video designer, Leanne Arnold, new director, Lorca Perez.
Lorca. I know.
Do you know Lorca?
Of course I know Lorca.
Oh,
Multi-stages Lorca. Come on.
My God,
Love
is
Lorca.
she amazing?
Love Lorca. Force of nature, Lorca.
Oh, she's a force of nature. That's right. I'm gonna have to show her this video. And dramaturgy by Tony Speciale. The show was and thank you to Pat Addis. She's been a huge force as a producer in helping to push this show forward. And Colleen Heffernan, who's an amazing director, also, who helped it. We're making it more of an immersive film, so it's like a live silent movie film. And very quickly, Alla Nazimova was a famous silent movie star, a huge force in Broadway. They had a Broadway theater named after her. Was the first female writer, director, and producer in Hollywood, and was openly gay, and was written out of the history books. And she hosted the wildest parties of the 20s, 30s, and 40s at the Garden of Allah, 20s and 30s, and then it became a hotel. So anybody who was anybody, the stories of that place, woo. So it's a cool show. Thank you. And it's called the Garden of Allah, and it's placestheplay.com until we change the website. And we're hoping that we can do it live.
It's been all over when it was Places. I was looking at your website, like you've been everywhere with it. It's amazing.
Thanks. We wanted to take it around the country, and we were ready to do that, and then the pandemic hit, and so now it's a matter of getting audiences back and trusting and also getting it to be able to be streamed simultaneously. I think that's not going to end, the streaming thing. I just think we're going to add it to the
Agreed.
Perhaps. What do I know? So thank you so much, Caroline. Thank you so much, Bruce.
Thank you so much.
All right. And everybody, thank you.
Talk to you again soon. Thanks.
Talk to you soon. Thank you so much.